24 cities have hosted the modern Summer Olympics. The prestige of the Games remains strong, but the cost of hosting has rocketed and the economic legacy is debatable. The Atlanta Games in 1996 cost $4.2 billion. 20 years later, Brazil became the first South American country to host the Games at a cost of over $13 billion. That was more than 300% over budget, with the host city Rio needing a $900 million bailout from the federal government. In fact, across the last 60 years, no Olympic Games has ever stayed on budget, and only one has generated net revenue for the host city. That was Los Angeles in 1984, which made a profit of $215 million. And it's a mixed picture when it comes to tourism. Barcelona in 1992 is a success story, with the city seeing a dramatic increase in visitor numbers on the back of the Games. But London actually saw a fall in tourism by 5% when it hosted in 2012. Andrew Zimbalist is Professor of Economics at Smith College and author of Circus Maximus, the economic gamble behind hosting the Olympics and the World Cup. I asked him why any city would want to host the Games.
One sector of a city's economy that benefits enormously, of course, from hosting the Games is the construction sector and the development sector. They're usually the largest urban single employer, that is construction, in an urban political economy. So politicians like to make the entrepreneurs and the managers in those and the workers in those sectors happy. That's usually politically beneficial. As long as you can avoid a disaster. I think politicians also like the exposure that they get within their country and to the rest of the world by hosting the Olympic Games. So I think there are plenty of reasons you can find on the grounds that particular interests, particular individuals find it advantageous to host the Games. They lean on the politicians. The politicians are responsive to those demands by well-placed individuals. So I think primarily that's what's going on.
So what about Paris? Do the numbers stack up for them? Will the economic benefits be worth the spending?
I don't think the economic benefits have been worth the spending in any city since Los Angeles and Barcelona. Los Angeles back in 1984 and Barcelona in 1992. What was peculiar about Los Angeles back then, and will be peculiar once again in 28, is that they don't have to build it. Virtually, they don't have to build anything. Everything in terms of the venues and in terms of the transportation, connections, network, in terms of the security apparatus, all of that is basically ready. And what happens in practically every other case is that there is no such plan, and the Olympics are hosted. If it's the Summer Olympics, they need 35 to 40 venues. And they have to reconfigure and distort the city, and they have to kick people out of their homes. And therefore, in the vast majority of cases, you can't argue that the economic benefits exceed the costs. And I think the same will go for Paris. You know, particularly a city like Paris, which might be the most popular tourist destination and a very popular business destination, might be the most popular in the world. They don't need to be put on the world map. So whatever advantages might derive for another city, a less known city hosting the Games, really doesn't apply to Paris. It doesn't apply to Los Angeles. It doesn't apply to New York. I don't believe it applied to Beijing.
But alongside that idea of the publicity and the prestige that perhaps goes along with hosting the Olympics, there's also the idea of legacy, isn't there? That's part of the idea of hosting the Olympics, the legacy it leaves behind.
Well, think about it. You build 38 to 40 venues, or maybe you built a third of those, and the rest of them were there. They have to be renovated. Each of these venues takes up 10, 15 hectares with the surrounding infrastructure, transportation infrastructure. And once the Olympics are gone, 17 days the Olympics are over, what happens to those venues? They're taking up valuable urban real estate. You have to spend millions of dollars to maintain them. Will they be adequately used? That's the legacy. And in a vast majority of cases, we see the existence of white elephants rather than some positive sport legacy or economic legacy. The argument that there could be a positive legacy, of course, is valid. The question is whether or not the conditions are met in order to facilitate that. And again, in the vast majority of cases, those conditions are not met, at least according to the scholarship that's been done by academics who are not paid by one side or the other to try to boost to their point of view.